All right, everybody. Again, welcome to our session today, which is the step-by-step to getting started with assessments and Canvas. We're super excited that you decided to join us today. I wanted to start off just introducing our presenters, myself and Charmaine. So my name is Brian Story. I'm the Director of Teacher Engagement with Assessments. I was a classroom teacher for a decade prior to my work with Assessments in DC Public Schools and Norfolk Public Schools in Virginia. And with that, I'll pass it over to Charmaine.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Charmaine Franklin. I have experience all over the place. I'm a nomad. So I started as a classroom teacher, became an instructional coach, worked at the state level, transitioned to back into like district level, and now I'm with assessments. So I have experience in Missouri, Wisconsin, and Louisiana, which I'm located in New Orleans right now. So happy to be here with y'all this evening.
Excellent. Thank you, Charmaine. Just a note before we dive in today, all attendees will receive a PDF copy of this slide deck and a recording of the session. If at any point during today's session, if you need help, feel free to use the hand raise feature in Zoom. And the chat moderator, Charmaine, for today will reach out in the chat to answer any questions you might have. So I thought it would be interesting to start with just a nice little icebreaker question. If you could have a superpower, what would it be? And you can feel free to unmute and share, or you can share in the chat. Either way is fine, whatever you're comfortable with. While we're waiting for folks to share their responses, I guess right now my answer to this changes depending on my mood and what day it is. But I would say if I could have a superpower today, what would it be? It would be to work 10 times faster. So I could get 10 times as much stuff done in the same amount of time. What do we have coming into the chat, Charmaine?
We have some mind readers, teleportation. Mary wants me to talk to her dog, which I'm here with you for that one, Mary. I have 2 dogs and a rabbit, so I'm always like, what are y'all thinking when I say stuff? Meeting like 100% of standards, which and yes, Mary, I would say dog be able to talk back as well. Yes. So, but yeah, that's what we have in the chat. Last time we did this, Brian and I were in the mood of like being able to make money appear, and like I'm still always going to be on the side of that one where it's just thinking money's in my hand.
And I certainly my lack of superpower around communicating with my dog definitely does not stop me from trying to engage him in conversation on a regular basis. But yeah, it would be nice if he could actually understand what I was saying and talk back. It would make me look a little less crazy. So with that, before we get into the actual content of today's session, you'll want to log into assistments.org with your Canvas login credential. If your Canvas administrator has not set up permissions with Assessments, you won't be able to do that just yet. So in the meantime, you can feel free to log in with a Google account, a Gmail account. Charmaine is sharing the directions in the chat for your Canvas admin if you want to pass those along to them and have them set up the integration. But I'm going to go live over here and just show you what this looks like so that you can see it. And essentially, once the integration is set up, you as the teacher can go to assistments.org. You can click login. Oh, it's like it's taking forever. What's up? You'll click Canvas. You'll search for your Canvas institution URL. We have one of our own internally, so I'm just going to type that in. And then once it appears in the drop down, you click it and click login. Click authorize, and you're in. There's no separate login. This works directly through your Canvas account, so you should be able to log in that way. For those of you who do not have the option today to log in with Canvas because your Canvas administrator needs to set that up, you can always log in with a Google account. So you'll click Google and use your Gmail credential to log in. So I'll give folks a second to do that. And then the next thing that we want to do to make sure you get the most out of today's session is to make sure that you have a teacher role in your account. So I've actually generated a code for if you don't have one, but basically you want to go, and I'll just go ahead and show this live. When you're logged into your assessments account, you can click your name in the top right-hand corner and go to settings. Right here under account settings, you'll see that it shows user roles. And right now mine says teacher because I have a teacher role, but if you don't, there's a button to learn how to request a teacher role. And so what you want to do is you want to click that how to get a teacher role button. And on this screen where it says invite code, you can type in this invite code right here and click submit, and that will give you a teacher role so that you have full teacher functionality today. Charmaine, if you could share that code in the chat, that would be awesome. Oh, you already did. Great. Excellent.
This is Mary.
Uh-huh.
I am lost at step one. Okay. You've kept going. And when I had my assessments up before the call started, and I am at a page that just lists what I want to open up, like NCTM, the Utah Middle School, open up resources. It's got all that. So it didn't take me to the page you were talking about. Oh yeah, that's where I am. Wait.
Sure. Sure.
Okay,
So
there.
Okay, so that means you're logged into your account.
Yep.
And did you log in with Canvas, or did you just log in with, because some people that signed up today are not Canvas users. Did you log in with your Google Classroom, or did you log in with Canvas?
I meant to log in with Canvas, but I'm not sure if I did. How can I check that?
That's a great question. So if it automatically logged you in, chances are you're logged in with Google, and your browser is already logged into a Google account. And so it logged you in with that. If you're, you can always, the way to sort of log out of that, if you want to try to log into Canvas, is to log out of Google Class, like go to classroom.google.com and log out from there. And then when you log out of assessments, you can go to log in and click Canvas and log in that way. But if you, do you know whether or not your Canvas administrator has set up the integration with assessments?
Well, I used it for a little bit at the end of last year, so I'm assuming so.
Okay. All right. Excellent. So yeah, basically, and I'll just show you this step. You can go to classroom.google.com. Well, I can't fully show it because I'm logged in with Canvas, but you go to classroom.google.com, log out of your Google account. And then once you've done that, you can go up, on this screen and click log out, and then, click log in and log in with your Canvas credential.
Right. And let me just ask you how I'm at that classroom.google.com, but how do I log out of that?
Okay, so in the top right-hand corner, you should see your sort of profile there.
Yep.
So you should click that and click sign out.
Brian, if you don't mind, can you go back to demo where they're supposed to actually enter the code?
Sure. Great. And I assume someone was asking about that in the chat.
Yes.
It's a great question. So when you you click your name in the top right corner and you click settings, that's going to bring you to this account settings page right here under user roles. If you do not already have the teacher role, it'll have a question there. How do I get a teacher role? And you click that question, and that's where you can enter the code. I don't know why this went farther, but there we go. You'll see this screen here where you can type in this code that we put in the chat and click submit, and that'll just make sure you have a teacher role for today's session. Okay, any other questions coming in?
Not right now. Thank you for showing that again.
Yeah, not a problem. Definitely want to make sure everybody is good to go. If you've already been using assessments and you used it last year with Canvas, you don't need to worry about this whole code thing. This is just to make sure that brand new users have full functionality in our session today. So it's not something that those of you who've used assessments before need to worry about. So you should be good to go. Yeah, and I think, again, that was in the chat, that was Claire. So
So she's saying that she's not getting prompted to enter a code, and then she also doesn't see teacher under user role.
Okay, so under user roles here in account settings, you don't see teacher, and there's also no question that you can click to get a teacher role. Is that right?
Claire, if you want to come off mute, you totally can.
Yeah, so I'm here with actually a group of other teachers in the room, but we have the question that says, how do I get a teacher code? But once we get there, we don't have the prompt to enter a code. Or
Now it works.
Now you do?
Yeah, you
Oh.
have to sign out and sign in with Google, not Canvas.
Oh, okay, we're gonna try something different. If that doesn't work, we'll
All right.
troubleshoot from there. Thanks.
Sure, no problem, no problem. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into our content today. We're going to talk a bit about what assessments is, and then we're going to immerse in the teacher and student experience. We're going to talk about some tips for how to introduce assessments to your students and share some resources that'll help you do that. And then kind of go through how to access your assessments data, and then some recommendations for planning before we wrap up. And so this session is sort of the first session in our new user series. The second session, which I'll talk about at the end, focuses explicitly on the data and how to interpret it. And so let's go ahead and dive in. So the goals for today's session are for you to understand the teacher and student experience, be able to find and assign content from your curriculum, and be able to introduce assessments to your students in a productive and positive way. As a quick overview, assessments is primarily a math practice and assessment tool that empowers teachers to target class instruction, monitor learning, and intervene quickly to keep students on track. When we say formative assessment, we like to ground in a definition because different people have different ideas when it comes to the term formative assessment. What we mean by that is a planned process in which teachers or students use assessments-based evidence to adjust what they're currently doing. So the idea is basically assessments is mainly for practice, right? It's a chance to give your students an opportunity to practice and gain fluency and mastery with the content and the specific standards you're focused on. So before we move on, I wanted to have folks just stop and think, and you can feel free to unmute and share, or you can share in the chat. Just curious what the biggest challenges that you face with implementing a solid formative assessment routine in your curriculum. So I'd love to hear from those who are here today. What's the biggest challenge you face with implementing formative assessments in your curriculum?
We've got someone saying time. Definitely a repetitive time.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And thanks, was that Nicole and Shannon for sharing? I'll leave a few more moments for other folks to share, like what their biggest challenge is with implementing a formative assessment routine with their curriculum. And I think just as a note, I think someone is unmuted. I can hear typing. So just make sure that if you're typing that you're muted, so that sound isn't coming through.
And Mary mentioned continuing to build student confidence when we're connected to assessment.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So trying to build student confidence is obviously like an involved process. It's difficult to do, especially when you consider, your time constraints, and that, oftentimes you kind of have to keep it moving. And but you want kids to have this authentic chance to practice, right? And so assessments is basically a tool that it's not adding a whole, this whole brand new structure to your lesson plan. It's something that you can layer on top of what you're already doing to make this formative assessment process easier, to provide an experience for students that's a little bit better, and give you the data you need to support their student success in your classroom. And so typically we think about assessments in 4 steps. Step 1 being that the teacher assigns online. Step 2, students complete the assignment and get immediate feedback, correct, incorrect feedback. 3, the teacher analyzes the results in the data instead of grading, which is a big time saver. And then teacher discusses the data and targets time to student needs. So what key data points do you notice? How do you use those to drive instruction? We're going to go ahead and move on to a little teacher perspective from one of our expert teacher users. So you can hear from her how she feels about using assessments in her classroom. Oh. All right, 1 second. My Zoom bar is blocking the play button. I'm just going to move that to the top. Okay, there we go.
Oh, you can teach math without assessments, just your life would be a lot harder. If you're doing it on paper, you're going to have 30, plus pieces of paper in front of you and look at each one of them. And so the grading piece is really fast and it's real time. So yes, you cannot teach without assessments because you're going to be wasting a lot of time. And you don't get to then see what the students needs right away instead of wasting your time with papers and stuff. So don't teach without assistance. You can, but don't. Yeah.
So she shared there, and that was Viviani, shared that time was a main consideration for her, why she sees assessments as indispensable, because it saves her so much time in targeting next steps in instruction based on the student data she's receiving immediately from assessments. As I mentioned earlier, this is we're in the step-by-step to getting started session here. After this series of sessions, we're moving on to what we call from learning data to learning growth. So all focused on how to interpret and use our data. And then throughout the year, we're going to have some deep dives on specific platform functionality and tips and tools that we don't necessarily always have time to cover in our regular, free new user sessions. So let's go into immersing in the teacher and student experience. We do have several core open educational resources curricula in our platform. We definitely have other stuff as well, but we have organized the same way as the curricula are from their original sourcing. Kendall Hunt Illustrative Mathematics, Open Up Resources, Engage New York Eureka, and Utah Middle School Math. And so if I go back over here to my assessments account, I can see the folders for each of those content resources. You can see there's a lot more in here to explore that you have access to. But within any one of these open education resources curricula, you can click it. You can see each grade level. You can choose the grade level that you teach. You'll see that the modules are titled exactly the same as the curriculum. Within the modules, you'll see your assessments folder, but also you'll see the lessons ordered and titled the same way as in the curriculum. And then within the lesson, you'll see your exit tickets, your problem sets, basically whatever sets of problems are associated in the curriculum with that specific lesson. And you can toggle between those different problem sets within a lesson using these tabs here at the top. So you can always get to this page, this find and assign page that I was just on, by clicking explore content on our main page. And if you're not signed in, it'll prompt you, or log in by clicking log in, and it'll start you off right here at the find and assign tab, where you can navigate through our content library and find what you need. So when you're assigning content, you'll want to, once you get to the problems you want to assign and they're selected, you can click assign to class and you have a few options there. So I'm just going to go live and show you what that looks like. This time I'll go into illustrative. I know we have some illustrative and Eureka teachers here today. And so if I go into grade 7, and let's say I'm in unit 2, lesson 2, we have our practice problems here. I'm not going, let's say I don't want to assign all of these, that I just want to assign a selection. So I'm going to pick just a few of these problems. And then once I've picked the problems I want to assign, I can click assign to class. I can change the title if I want. So I'm just going to call this, what is it, 816 demo. Choose your LMS. In today's session, we're talking about Canvas. And then you can choose the course that you'd like to assign to. When you do this for the first time, it's going to prompt you to import your classes. You can always import more classes, or if updates to your roster happen, you can also click synchronize, and that'll make sure that the data on our end is updated according to what's in your classes. From there, you can even assign to a subset of students. So you can assign to all students, or you can uncheck this and select a subset of students in your class that you'd like to assign to. I'm going to click assign to class. I'm logged into a lot of accounts, so it's going to ask me to log in again here. This should not happen for you, though. And once I click assign to class, it's going to say the assignment was successfully created. All right. So again, just to recap, when you're going to assign, you can select your LMS, in this case, Canvas, select your classes. There are some other options down here. We're not going to, get super deep into those, but you can set release date and times and due date and times as well, if you like.
Brian, may I ask a question?
Sure.
This is Mary. You said you can do subsets of students, and I'm guessing all of us have. I've got a wide variety of levels in my class. Are you going to show us how to do subsets, and do you name those subsets, or can you do each person individually, or how does that work?
Basically, once you've chosen, and I'll go back here to the assign time screen. Once you've chosen a class or a set of classes to assign to, all those classes will appear here, and then indented from that, you'll see all of your students listed. So if you want to assign to a subset, you would just uncheck the whole class, and then check the specific students in each class that you want to receive that assignment. But you can assign to subsets of each of your classes all at the same time from here.
So can I have like 5 students in one class getting a certain number of problems, another 5 students getting different ones? And do I name those subsets, or do I have to pick it each time?
So there's currently no way to organize those subsets for later use.
Okay.
So you do have to select it from this screen.
Okay.
But the functionality does at least allow you to deliver different differentiated assignments to different subjects.
Which is awesome. Okay.
All right, great question. All right, so I want to give folks in here about 2 minutes, and I want to give you a chance to assign your first problem set. If you don't have classes set up, you can at least get to the assign time screen and play around with the options. But go ahead and take some time to find a problem set you want students to complete in an upcoming lesson. Navigate down to that problem set and assign it to your class if possible. So just want to make sure y'all get a chance to try that. And if any questions arise, you can feel free to post those in the chat once we come back together. I'll give folks about 2 minutes to explore that, and then we'll move on. All right, we're going to come back together in about 30 seconds. And again, if any questions arise as you're giving this a try, feel free to pop those in the chat. All righty. So now that you've had a chance to experience what it's like to assign as a teacher, we want to give you, and I'm noticing there's one question. Oh, no, never mind. Now that we've given you a chance to assign as a teacher, we want you to have a chance to see what this looks like for a student. And there's actually a way you can do this before you even assign anything. So Charmaine shared a problem set in the chat. You can also just navigate to any problem set you want to look at in your curriculum for this. But I'm going to go live and show you what this looks like before I give you all a chance to try it out. So when you're in a problem set, all you have to do is click this triple dot in the top right-hand corner and click Preview Problem Set as a student, and it's going to give you the full student experience of completing that problem set right here. So that if you really want to try it out or see what students see, you have the ability to do that before you assign it to your students. And so I'm going to give folks about 2 minutes to try that out, preview an assignment as a problem set as a student. And then when we come back together, I want folks to be ready to share any noticings, wonderings, questions, comments from that process of the teacher assigning or from the student experience that come to mind. All right, about 30 seconds. All right, so I want to give folks a chance to just share any noticings or wonderings. You can do this aloud or do it in the chat, whatever you're comfortable with. But now that you've had a chance to practice assigning to a class and then practice what it looks like to act as a student, we'd love to hear what you notice and what you wonder. So I'll give folks some time here to share their thoughts.
Nicole says she noticed that it's user friendly.
Yeah, the bottom line is, in terms of, actually assigning problems and pushing those out to your students, it's a pretty easy process. It's pretty straightforward. It's something you can do quickly. So there's another comment coming in. What was that one?
Yep. So Shannon is wondering about the show answer button. It's just for me since a teacher, or is it a student's? Sorry, is it just a teacher option, or do students have the option to see it as well?
Yes, students do have the option to click show answer. The reason why we have that is we want students to be able to either show that they can answer the question or not before they move on to the next question. However, when a student clicks show answer, it automatically brings their score to 0, and it becomes really obvious in your data that they have clicked that. Our messaging around show answer that we recommend for students is if you click show answer, it either shows me that you didn't make your best effort and you need to be assigned some additional problems to demonstrate mastery or show that show your knowledge, or you don't quite understand the concept, so you need some reteaching and then some additional practice questions. So all roads lead to, you as a student have to show that you understand the material.
And Nicole is also wondering how students show work.
That's a great question. So we think about assessments as not a replacement for your pencil and paper routine, but as an enhancement to it. So we still recommend if you have a pencil paper routine for students showing their work, that you still keep that because it's a great way for them to make their thinking visible. Students do have the option to, when there's an open response question, they can either take a picture of their work on paper, or they can show their work by typing or making a drawing in the open response box. So they have a few different options there, but we still recommend keeping a pencil and paper routine with assessments. All right. So moving right along, students access your assignment by going into Canvas and clicking the embedded link within the assignment. The first time they do this, it's going to ask them to click this button to create a new account, but that only happens once, and there's no separate login. So once they've done that, they can click any assignment link and access their assignment. And I'm just going to show what this looks like live. Let me just refresh my screen here. So you can see that 816 demo appears right here in my assignment list. If I click that, I'll see the embedded link. And that's going to take me straight into the assessments assignment. We know Canvas loves this authorize screen, so you and students may have to click authorize, but that shouldn't cause any issues or anything like that. And that'll take them straight into the assignment. I do want to just highlight a few elements of the student experience that are important. So students receive one question at a time. They receive instant feedback as they submit answers and complete their work. The feedback is corrective, so it'll say, sorry, try again. The answer is not correct, or it'll tell them it's correct if it is. When they click show answer, like I said, that score bar automatically goes to 0. It gives them the answer and they can input it. But once they've done that, again, you can clearly see that, something has gone wrong in your data. So that student needs to be addressed with some sort of intervention.
So how many times can they try?
Students can try an infinite number of times. However, the score, to have a score above 0, they have to get it right within 3 attempts. So each attempt is going to take 33% off that score. They can continue trying, and when they get it right, it'll show that it's correct. But we want you to be able to see, there are students who might get it right after 5 tries. We want you to see that versus a student who gets it right on the first try, because those students kind of need different instructional approaches, right? So then once a student has completed the assignment, they'll see the assignment report. It'll show them their score, as well as the score breakdown for each individual problem. They can also hover over any of the problems to see what they were. And if there's an open response and you've scored that and left feedback, you have the option, they will see your feedback and the score that you provided for that open response question. And we'll talk more about essay scoring when we have our data workshop. We have another question section. We'll do that in just a little bit. I do want to go ahead and move us on to introducing assessments to your students. So there are 3 key things that you want your students to know before you get started with assessments. That the purpose of assessments and how it helps them learn and grow, the fact that we're for practice, right? How to access their assignments. And we have some resources to support these things. How to complete an assignment. Paying attention to that immediate feedback, what you want them to do when they get feedback that they're, not correct, and how to respond to those open response questions. So typically teachers will have some kind of routine where, for open responses, type in your answer or take a picture of your open response on paper, whatever you want students to do, you want to norm on that. There are some key messages that are helpful to students. Use the feedback to help you and keep trying, right? It's always useful to share beforehand how you're going to use the data from their scores in the assignment to support them afterward. And like I've said a couple of times already, it can't be said enough. Assessments is for practice. It's okay to make mistakes when practicing. Students have to have that formative opportunity to practice without penalty in order to be willing to engage with rigorous questions in your classroom, right? So really emphasizing that it's for practice. So I wanted to share, give folks a moment just to share any challenges that you foresee students having when getting started with completing math assignments and assessments. We're going to do 1 minute on this. So you can share in the chat or share aloud any challenges that you foresee students having when they get started.
So Mary was just saying, she thinks that she's just gonna have to have like practice, which we definitely support and agree. Just being able to be immersed in a different question formatting and situations for them.
Absolutely. And like I said, we provide resources and some guidance that we'll share with you that, will help you kind of avoid any of those initial challenges, understanding that getting students to develop a positive relationship with a new digital platform is not something that just happens, magically, right? So then in terms of, I did want to spend just a moment showing you how to access assessments data. Our data is our secret sauce. We recommend analyzing it early and often. And using it to share with students, say like, I noticed these trends or these key data points. We're going to now do this to make sure that you get what you need to be successful. So completing that loop, showing students that you see what they're doing and that you're modifying instruction to support their needs. I'm just going to go over here to accessing the data report, and I'm going to go live. So as a teacher, you have 2 ways that you can access your assessments data reports. The first is by going to your My Assignments tab. And from here, you can click any assignment and click View Report, and that's going to take you straight into your assignment report. The other option is in Canvas when you're in your Canvas class. And this may be easier because maybe you have your assignments organized in a certain way, but for you as the teacher, it's the same as a student accessing their assignment. You click the assignment, you click the embedded link, and that's going to take you into your assessments data report. All right. We do have, and we'll include this in the slide deck, but we do have some recommendations for what that first week looks like. So that you can get students onboarded in a positive and productive way. We have student tutorial videos that we recommend watching with students, and we also have student practice assignments so that they can get a good understanding of how assessments works before you start assigning content from your curriculum. And then in the chat, Charmaine is going to share a link to our teacher guidance doc, which contains guidance on your first week, your first month, as well as some key questions and considerations that'll help you build a positive routine with your students. All right, so in terms of what we talked about today, we wanted to make sure that you had a clear understanding of what that teacher and student experience looks like, how to find and assign content from your curriculum, and then some key considerations and some tips and supports, key messages that we recommend for introducing students or assistants to your students. So we showed you that teacher and student experience, talked about some of those considerations for onboarding students, and then how to access your data report, and then some resources to help you plan this process of onboarding students into assessments. Before we sort of wrap up our session today, another key recommendation to think about is you've got a lot going on as a teacher. It's difficult enough to just kind of move through the curriculum successfully with students. Start with a bite-sized routine. So maybe it's the warm-up, maybe it's your practice problems, maybe it's that cool down or exit ticket. We recommend starting with one assignment type for one purpose that would really benefit from you getting that immediate data and students getting feedback. For example, a teacher might say, I will assign a daily cool down in assessments as a formative assessment I can use to plan my lesson warm up for the next day, right? So folks can maybe add in the chat, what would be your example? I will assign blank as or for the purpose of blank. You can either share aloud or you can share in the chat. Where's your thinking at? What do you want to start with?
Nicole was saying some the practice problems in her class.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And again, think about, you know, when I was a classroom teacher, it was basically the decision was, okay, I can grade, give feedback on all the student work, identify trends, modify instruction for the next day, and have no life. Or, I can, I really wished at that time I didn't have assessments, but, or I can have something that generates the data for me so that I can quickly analyze those trends and get my students what they need without, having to use up all of my time outside of school to, do a one-day turnaround on that.
Yeah, it looked like Claire was thinking the same thing. So like the cool down in order to do some quick data gathering. Carla mentioned doing some fluency for the purpose of warm up. And then Mary talked about like the ready problems to do those, like open up, get them warmed up, get them ready to go. And Shannon also was thinking about practice problems to save time on checking homework. Yep, we understand that. And then Carla joined late. She asked, like, what is cool down? What are the cool down questions? Carla, that could be based off of the curriculum that you use. So illustrative uses yes, it is illustrative. Illustratives have cool down. So like what you might hear of like exit tickets or depending on your curriculum, but that would be an option. It's not an option for all. It's about the way that they word or name certain curriculum types.
So for example, if I go into a lesson in illustrative, you can see they have a cool down. The common name for these outside of the curriculum might be exit tickets, right? So it's the same sort of idea. If I go to Eureka, Engage New York, they're just called exit tickets. So that would be the same idea. Great question. And thanks everybody for sharing how you want to get started. It was really nice to hear how y'all want to kind of get things going with your students. We do have a few sessions upcoming. So like I said, those data sessions, you may be interested in signing up and joining us for one of those. We have a general one, and then we have one focused on illustrative math, and then one focused on Eureka. So depending on what you need, you can choose to come to one of those sessions. You can also check out our help center for any helpful user resources. And I'm going to go live and show that to you. But in the meantime, Charmaine, can you share our feedback survey? We really appreciate you taking 30 seconds to provide your feedback to us. and we use your feedback to drive improvements to our materials. So it means a lot if you take 30 seconds to fill that out. While you're doing that, on the Assistments website, you can always come here to our Help Center. You can sign up for future sessions here, but when you go to user resources, we have our user resources sorted by topic. So if you need help with getting started or understanding, what you need to know to get started, you can go there. If you want to understand our content library and how to find and assign, you can go there. If you want to, learn more about how to interpret our data reports, you can go here. So you have several different user resource options that you can go to get help when you need it. All right, so I want to thank everybody for coming. And while folks are finishing feedback surveys, we'll stay on for a few minutes. If folks have any questions, you can feel free to unmute and share any questions that you have before you log off. Other than that, though, once you finish the feedback survey, you're free to go. And we thank you so much for taking the time to join us today and hopefully learn a little bit about assessments and how to get started with a solid routine with your students.
Yes, Carla, this was recorded, so you will get you will actually get it in a follow-up survey link.
For those of you who weren't here at the very beginning, everybody here will get a copy, a PDF of the slide deck with active links and a link to the recording so that you can come back to this anytime that you like for reference. All right, I'll give another 30 seconds or so just in case folks have any other questions to ask, and then we'll close out the session.